Welcome. Today we're here with Sunni Dowds, founder of Condo Inspect Pro and seasoned property manager. Sunni, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Tell me a little bit more about your career in condo management and how it led you to where you are today.
Well, I've been in this industry for about 20 years. Prior to getting into the industry, I sat on a board of 152 units. I was the president for that board for almost 12 years and really liked the environment. I liked the industry. I liked the constant learning and being able to engage with different people from different areas and having their input and seeing all of that, their insights and their dreams and their wishes for their condos boards being able to come to light. I did get into the industry before licensing even happened. Bit of a wild west in that way, but I enjoyed the ability to learn something new every day, and I still enjoy that. Every day it's something new because you're dealing with people, and it's the greatest reward system as far as being able to help somebody through a tough issue within their condominium and be able to say, this is why you can't do it this way, but you can do it that way. So I've been doing it, like I said, for about 20 years. I was a property manager. I started off as an admin, then to a property manager, and then an operations manager, where I have the pleasure of leading a team of both licensed managers in Ontario as well as limited licenses. And it's great to see the limited licenses grow and get their license and take off and get their own portfolio. So it's very rewarding. But what I wasn't seeing was a true understanding of why you have to inspect that building. It's not that people aren't inspecting it. It's just they're not necessarily documenting it. And especially with licensing coming through, and especially in the environment we're in, because it's high liability, there was no way for them to really properly track those inspections and document them without it being a laborious process.
I understand that. And I love everything about what you said, except for the fact that they call them limited licensees. I don't know. It sounds like you're putting somebody on the back foot when they're just getting started. And there's got to be a better way to do it. Inspections. We're obviously here to talk about what they're all about, why they need them, and what makes them better. But how did this become such a focal point for you?
Because it was one of the biggest gaps. When you look at the platforms, or when you look at the industry going more electronic with AI and everything else, there was no platform out there that was condo specific.
Yeah.
A lot of the platforms out there, you're able to manipulate the inspection module or the standalone module for the condominium world, but most of them were based on a real estate rental type portfolio, where it focused more on the unit and the turnover and the tasks within that unit versus the property itself. So it wasn't looking at reporting back to the board. It was looking at reporting back to the investor, not the owners.
Right.
Significant gap.
There we go. That's the gap. So talk us through the process, when these happen, how they're coordinated.
So right now, most managers will go into a building and they're inspecting. Even if it's a building they're visiting a friend at, your eyes just dart to areas of the building and you're inspecting it and you're mentally taking it in and you're mentally making notes. If there's something that's a major issue, you may pull out your phone and you may take a picture of it, and you may go into your notes app and you may make a little note there, or everybody has their little notebook that they carry and they write all their notes. And it kind of just sits and lives there, right? Like, you've got to action it and you may action it, but then it's, you're going back through your book going, okay, where is it? Or you're going through your phone going, okay, I know I have this picture. Or you're in a board meeting and you're trying to get a quote passed and it needs to be passed because the work needs to be done, but you're trying to find the picture in the board meeting because you forgot to attach it to your board meeting report. And it's really difficult. Or even worst case, that manager leaves the property, a new manager is assigned. Guess where all the information is? It's living in that manager's phone. And
Yeah, that good thing people don't move, right?
Yeah. For larger firms, they have their file structures and stuff, and they're great, but they really are just repositories. They're not somewhere where you're actively working out of. A manager works actively out of their emails and out of their platforms.
Oh, it's true.
And there really isn't anything out there that kind of puts them all together.
I love it. So you're trying to bring together what you're seeing and experiencing as a manager, the notes, the records that you're gathering with what actually needs to be there at the end of this story, which is the actionable items and the tracking of those decisions and those actions. Is that fair?
That is fair. And that's one part of it. But the other part of it is managers go in and they may have a spreadsheet or a list of what to look at.
Yep.
But there really isn't any proper, say, checklists that meet the current requirements. You have your fire inspection, which has a list.
Yep.
But you have your HVAC, which your HVAC provider will tell you what your equipment needs.
Yeah.
You have, your common area walkways, typical things. But there are legislated codes and such behind it that you should be inspecting in a 30-day period. And a lot of those spreadsheets don't cover that. So manager may be inspecting and they may be documenting it correctly, but are they actually inspecting what is required to ensure that there is no liability for the boards or the corporation?
Makes sense. Perfect. And what does make it defensible? It's all nice to do the walk, to take a few notes. Where's the line between, yeah, I did it, to I've proven it, this is where we need to be?
And actually the end result is a complete paper trail of, okay, I inspected it on this date and time, right? And I'm accountable for that inspection. Here's my notes and everything else. Identifying exactly where it is, making sure that you've documented it, you followed it through, the contractor's been engaged, you've got the report from the contractor, you've got the dates assigned to that is when the contractor was in, when the work was completed, and when you inspected that it was in fact completed.
Right.
And all of that comes through emails and different sources and phones and everything else. If you were called to the carpet, for lack of better words, it would probably take you a good couple of hours to get through and be able to say, okay, here's all my dots. This is how I connect them. Now I've got to make it pretty so it's readable and it's not just in condo speak where maybe my new board member won't understand it.
Good thing managers have lots of spare time to do that on a as needed basis, right?
I've yet to meet one.
Is this entire process on the plate of the condo manager, or if the building or community is big enough and they've got an on-site manager, can they be involved with this process? How does that work?
So it is always on the manager or the lead of the building to make sure that all of these inspections and all of these repairs are being triggered and resolved. Mm-hmm. That is why you have the manager, to make sure that they are managing the day-to-day requirements of that building, right? It's not just sitting in the office, getting your board reports and identifying a few things. It is you, the manager, to make sure that you have safely covered off all areas of that building, whether it be code legislation or just pure safety, as well as managing the people in it and their expectations for those repairs. So self-managed, yeah, there's usually somebody that will kind of take a look around, but I don't know that they're always coming back to compliant. You have your trades, they'll give you your checklist, but it's up to the manager to read it. It's up to the manager to make sure it's actioned. So essentially, yes, we take our direction from the board, but the board can't give direction if you can't give the board important information to make the decisions and provide the direction.
Fantastic. So some of these underlying services like fire safety, you have that crew come in on a regular basis to do that specific task. How do you synthesize that information with the inspections that you do as a condo manager?
So as a condo manager, you have your annual inspections. Typically, you would have the fire company go in and they will do it to the annual inspection. Some corporations have them come in and do a monthly. But as a manager, you need to walk that building because light bulbs don't just go out when the fire safety company's there for an exit sign, right? Yeah. The generator, it may fire every quarter when you're doing your test on the generator, but if there's something like a bell or a whistle or a display going off between inspections, you could have a real problem in a power outage. So you have to, yes, do your inspections when they are required, but as a manager, you have to know the heartbeat of those devices at all times. So you have to do these inspections. You can't just rely on the contractor to do it. Things don't fail just because a contractor shows up.
Defensible. First, you've got here, it needs to be dated. You need to have who, you need to have where, it needs to be clear. So those records have to be intact. Seems pretty obvious, but I bet sometimes it's messy and they're looking at what date they had it, the email, or when they had it in their calendar so that they have that information. Obviously, that's pretty critical. Talk to me about this location-specific element.
The deficiency tied to a physical location?
Yeah.
Well, an example would be a garage inspection. You could go in and say there's 3 pipes that need to be replaced in the garage.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden there's a flood, water, roof, something fails and you've got a lot of water in the garage. And if you haven't identified that observation and the water shows up, they could automatically assume that it's something else, but yet you've already got the answer. You already identified specifically where it is. If you say it's parking spot P1 to 5, this is the pipe section, and the flood happened way over there, then you can eliminate that immediate problem and go look for something else, or vice versa. Oh, the flood was in P1 to P5. I know it's the pipe, and you can quickly triage and resolve it versus having to go through the search process.
Excellent. That makes sense. And then tying it all up with a bow, because you've got to have it ready to go, as you say, and the scramble to put together, phone photos with whatever notes you had on paper into a presentable format is an exercise. It's a couple of hours, in your opinion, even if you're organized and you have it to hand. You want to have this for the insurance claim, for the board, as you've noted here in your slides.
Without that paper trail,
without
the paper trail that leads you to the end result, you end up assuming things, or you miss things because you're so busy trying to compile all the information together that something as simple as that, we'll go back to the garage, right? The leak and the flood and everything else that was happening. If you hadn't recorded that and time-stamped it and followed it through, then chances are you haven't even brought it up to your board, right? So it's a shock to them. They're incurring additional costs that they may not have had to incur had we identified, time-stamped, and got it in front of the board at the time that it was discovered or within that meeting time frame, right? So now you've got a flood, additional cost. You've got owners that are agitated because now they're dealing with a flood, so their sensitivity to what you're doing is lower. They just want the problem fixed.
Yeah.
So if you don't have that paper trail as it progresses, by the time it becomes a bigger issue, or by the time it becomes a bigger issue and you've ignored the documentation process, you're in reactive mode. You're not in proactive mode. You're not solving the problem. You're just reacting to whomever is coming at you. A paper trail gives you that ability as you're going through it to reference and know what's been done and what your next step will be.
Fantastic. So you've got a point here that consistency begins before you're on site. Talk us through it.
So you may get assigned a building and you've got all this wonderful documentation, but you really don't know where everything is before you walk the site. But if you take the time to read your documentation and get the building mentally set up in your mind, when you actually get to that building, you have a good sense of where you need to go and what needs the building are going to have from day one. Does that make sense to you?
Absolutely, it does.
Right? Like you need to be able to tie all this wonderful paperwork to the actual building and be able to understand what you're walking into, because day one, there could be a problem. And if you haven't taken the time to set that mental building up in your head and be able to go to the building and start pulling the information and know what you need to inspect going forward to be proactive, you might as well just sit in the office and wait for everybody else to feed you information.
You had mentioned earlier that instinctive, as you start walking that building, what you see. And I saw a comment there from Catherine who pointed out that, yes, you start to observe, you start to judge just because of your experience when you pass a building, whether you're managing it or not, I think. But yes, tying that into having that plan and making sure that you're covering it effectively is critical. And I've seen some great tools that do help people stay on track and have that checklist so that they are not, missing anything specific to one community that might not be in another.
Right. And then they've got so many different dynamics in the condominiums, right? It's not just all high rises. It's not townhouses. It's not stacked. It's not that. So in Ontario, our declarations appear boilerplate until you kind of get into the meat of it, the meat and potatoes of it. And not one building is the same as the other. And their demands for their equipment and stuff may not be the same as another building based on manufacturer.
True. Yeah. Even the similar building types would have very different equipment and different service. So that's a very good point. Is there anything else that a condo manager needs to have on their mind as they're going through?
When they're going through the building? I think that the one thing that managers do well is they inspect a building. They don't necessarily always document it, is the people too, right? You've got to understand a certain level of your dynamic, and you'll get most of that when you have a board, because the board is all different dynamic and what their tolerances are for things. Just because they don't have a tolerance for repair doesn't mean that it doesn't need to be done. And by doing your inspections and documenting those inspections, it helps the decision makers, your board, understand that the tolerance may need not be there, but we need to do it. And this is the status of what it looks like now. This is how many times it's come up on an inspection as a problem. And it allows them to be more proactive. So you've always got to, as a manager, weigh the temperature and then not work to the temperature, work to what the building needs.
Right.
And manage the expectations of it.
So when you put together Condo Inspect Pro, you had this in mind. You put together various templates as well to help the manager choose the right path, take the right information, not miss anything.
Not guess. It's, managers know what they kind of have to inspect, but there's that whole compliance part too, right? So the way that the Condo Inspect Pro is built, is based on your governing documents, your fire safety plan, because that is the key to the building layout, is your fire safety plan. A lot of people go to the documentation first and try and understand the dynamic. I always go to the fire safety plan. It gives me my maps. It gives me equipment locations. It gives me everything I need to hit the ground running. So the way that Condo Inspect Pro is built is based on uploading that information into the platform, and the platform is built based on code requirements and inspections, and it will automatically assign you templates that need to be done for that building type or for those types of equipment. And then it allows you to customize, because some management firms have different types of inspections that they want to do that's outside of like a regulatory, so they can add that custom one there. And it's based on per building. It's not just these templates go to every single building. It's based on what you have given the platform as far as your building dynamic, the fire safety plan, the declaration, the bylaws, the rules, the regs. And it also allows for contractor uploads. So you can upload like an annual fire safety inspection, so it sees what's actually being inspected. Because as you're aware, fire safety plans are typically done when the building's built and ready for occupancy, and it probably doesn't get visited again for another decade, and things change within the building. So it allows you to modify them as well.
For someone that hasn't worn the shoes of a condo manager, what sorts of things might a particular proactive management firm be looking to do that are outside or beyond what's in the regulatory requirements?
So you mean a manager? Sorry, the question is a non-manager?
You talked about something that a specific firm might do that's above and beyond, and I just don't know what that might be beyond what's regulatory requirement might be.
A lot of the managers or management firms could have a different cycle as far as a key log check.
Right.
They could have a different cycle for spring maintenance. They could have added things beyond the safety part. Spring maintenance is one
Makes
of your
sense.
biggest inspections that you must do, especially in Canada with the winters and everything that we have. They present the biggest ability to identify safety and concerns for the community. There may be additional type of security logs or post orders that a security management company wishes to have inspected on a different cycle. I don't believe there are many left outside of my platform. I have tried to, from my 20 years of all the buildings I have managed, I think I've now managed over 50 in my tenure. Right. I've tried to capture all of that, not just staying to specific legislation or code requirements, taking into account that there are different dynamics. There's superintendent dynamics, there's security guard dynamics, there's janitorial dynamics. One of the things that aren't necessarily in any type of template is your building stock. Some buildings prefer to hand out filters and smoke detectors versus leaving it to the owners to do. Simple cleaning material and such. A lot of them don't inventory it. They just leave it up to the superintendent or the manager that, oh, we're out, we need to order more. Instead of understanding that, instead of just ordering more, understand kind of the usage and the pattern in that, because there is a cost to that, and that cost hits your budget.
That's the reality of it, isn't it?
Yeah.
So going practical with it now, talk through some of these elements that make it easy to not only complete that exercise, but to document it as you're going and to have that work proof at the end of it.
So a lot of the times managers, when they do go through a building right now on a paper system, they just mark down what isn't passing, what isn't actually working, or what the deficiency is, versus what is required, and that is knowing that you've inspected it. So the system that I've developed is a pass-fail system. It either passes or it fails. There's really no in between. It's not a kind of pass. It's, no, there's something wrong.
Yeah.
And the easiest way to do that is when you're doing the inspection, okay, pass what needs to be passed, but it allows you to immediately fail, make a note, and take a picture within that document. And what it will do is it will hold that deficiency until it is resolved. So it may be documented, it may be an issue, but it's not going to let you off the hook until you go in or a contractor uploads the work order to say, this has been resolved, and you clear it as resolved. So it will keep showing up report after report until you have physically gone in and solved the problem. The dashboard, when you log in, it immediately tells you, based on a building's life cycle, based on the requirements of inspections, what should actually be done this week, what needs to be done today. So it's clear, even for a non-technical superintendent, janitorial, or even a board member. This is what needs to be inspected this week based on the needs of the building. You don't have to go through and say, okay, I'm going to spend my entire Monday and I'm going to go from the top floor all the way to the bottom. You just need to cover that building in a 30-day period in its entirety. So you can do it in smaller chunks, which allows you to easily address the deficiencies because they're not all overwhelming you and coming at you all at once as well, right?
Yeah. Excellent. So this is serving as a tracking tool, a reminder, and something that will serve the board and make sure that they know where the issues are and when they've been resolved.
Not only that, but it gives you a compliance score, right? Most people, when they see those types of numbers, they'll dig in a little further versus just saying, okay, you did the inspection.
Yeah.
Well, based on your inspection, there's a whole bunch of deficiencies. So your building isn't 100% compliant. it's, 91, and what does it look like? If it's 50, well then, upper management may be looking at what's happening at the building itself.
Yeah.
And it
that's
gives
a good
insight
point
to the management firm and the board.
That's important. How easy is it to achieve 100% compliance across a portfolio of buildings?
I'll be honest with you, I've never seen it.
And there I was thinking that it was just a matter of time. No, the reality is that things are complicated. Some things have urgency and importance, and some have less. So I can see why you just wouldn't have that perfection across the board.
And buildings are full of people, and people are great, but things happen and they don't always get reported. I mean, oops, I accidentally I was trying to do something with my groceries and I kicked the wall plug plate off. Well, guess what? That's now an electrocution issue if a small child comes around and goes, this looks fun.
Yeah.
And are you catching it, right?
Yeah.
So you're never, ever going to have should never say never, but I've yet to see a building that is 100% compliant in a 30
Yeah, and if you are, it's not for long because, as you say, something's going to happen and something will change. These buildings live and breathe their own lives and are filled with occupants who are doing the same. So,
or somebody's just checked pass on everything. But the good news is with the system, it gives you accountability as to who did the last inspection.
Excellent. Well, that clearly matters. The world is getting more automated. Everything is still powered by humans, thankfully, because we're all here and we all have to do something that matters. Condo managers are very busy. Where can automation help them?
Automation, I will always say this, AI is a tool. It is not a replacement by any means. Yes, it's supposed to help our efficiency, but it will always need the oversight of the expert, right? It's only as good as the information you give it. So scheduling, great for automation. Scheduling your contractors, perfect. Identifying things that are overdue or identifying things that haven't been inspected. Keeping your deficiencies on track in front of you on that platform so you can see at what stage it's at any given time. And obviously keeping that history, that repository that you can call back on it in 3 years or 5 years. But it will always, always need a human to be able to say the wall plug isn't as important as my bulb and my exit sign, right? It's not going to be smart enough to understand that, yes, this issue is resolved, because sometimes the resolved issue isn't resolved. It's just temporarily fixed and there's something else coming in behind it, right? It needs that expert's judgment call.
So the human is there. They're going to not only assess and prioritize, but they're going to make sure it's fixed and leverage that expertise to constantly go through that cycle of prioritizing the issues.
Nothing is ever going to replace even an unseasoned manager standing in a room and being able to look at what's around them. Yeah. Because it's more than just visual. Sometimes it can be smell, it can be touch. It's not always just visual. So an AI that I know of, even if we were to look at robots, aren't going to be able to understand that part of it.
That is very true. Yeah, that smell of something damp and heavy in the air, that precursor to a potential mold inspection. I see what you're saying. That's a
dry drains in a mechanical room because the drip line isn't working.
Right.
That wonderful burning smell that isn't a fire, but it's a belt going.
Yeah, something's off.
Yeah.
Interesting. Good. Well, that's good. We none of us need to be replaced. We just need a little bit of help to cover everything that we need to do. So,
or help knowing that, you've done the inspection and it's recorded, and I know that I'm compliant because I have the legislated and I have the regulatory templates that I'm checking against, and I haven't missed anything because I'm getting that reminder to, oh, by the way, it's more than just checking the carpet in the stairwell.
Yeah. Yeah. And as you're pointing out here, the tools are great. You have to use them properly. You have to feed them properly. Good walkthrough, good pictures, good data will lead to a proper record and actionable outcomes that will serve the community.
Correct. It's important because by serving the community, you're also managing their expectations. And that really is condo management, is managing everybody's differing opinion and putting the expectation out there as to what you're really capable of within your framework. Right? And the more you can communicate and show through documentation, there's better results there because they see that it's not just something that was brushed over.
Yeah, I think everyone that lives in a condo community wants to feel like they're getting the manager's time, that they're getting their expertise and attention, and that the issues that they see are being resolved, and that neglect doesn't really kick in. It's a problem for sure. I see we've just had another comment come in from Douglas. Yeah, he thinks it'd be great if the AI could give back the manager more of their time. I think that's a good point. And as someone, I think he's lived on the inside of the condo management world as well. He likes your idea of starting with the fire safety plan. So
yeah, it's automation for your board minutes or your board packages and all of that makes sense because that allows us the time to do what we really need to do, and that is inspections. And I would be sad to think of a world that would rely on a complete automation.
Yeah.
To be part of living in that building and watching that building breathe and live on a day-to-day basis. I strongly believe in condo management. The word no doesn't work. It's, to say to a condo owner who's invested probably a significant amount of their money, no, you can't do that, only causes bigger issues versus, hey, well, I hear what you want to do. Here's where I have limitations and here's where the building has limitations. Let's work through it and think outside of the box and help them through the process. And by creating these inspections that are board ready, that could be given to an owner so that they can see that things are happening, maybe not in their time frame, but these are all the reasons why, and we are on it and we're inspecting it, helps with their expectation that I understand why it's not immediate now. And they don't become as turned off or bitter, and they become a very involved community member.
That we've talked about on several different topics, and it does come up because often the one that's noisiest, if they're allowed to sit in on a council meeting as a viewer, if they're engaged and they are communicated with effectively and they feel like they've been heard, they can become a positive force rather than just a squeaky wheel and a source of anxiety within that community because they're not
usually the loudest. Always has a point.
Yeah.
And it's just taking that time to investigate it.
No, that's really good. For everyone's benefit, what were these most common gaps in the process?
The most common gaps in this process?
In the condo inspection process?
Is that it's not getting documented, loss of information from manager to manager. Mm-hmm. And with the loss of that information or the non-documented, getting proper resolve with your boards or directions to get the jobs done. So you end up being in a reactive cycle versus a proactive cycle.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. Wonderful. What other points did you want to raise today, Sunny, that I haven't covered?
I strongly believe in this app, and I know I've done a lot of field testing with this app. I think that I agree. Managers are very inundated. I think that in a world of automation, we're looking for the resolve, but the problem is we're getting so much automation that we're not able to put it into place. And I've built this app based on knowing the struggles that managers have. I still manage properties, so I'm still actively out there. It's not like I've just abandoned the world and decided this app is the fix. My concern is in Ontario, especially with the CMRAO and the CAO, being able to support the managers through this type of documentation and recording will help their process with our legislation body. I know that they're expanding further as far as the licensing. And anything we can do to support our managers, I'm in. It's not an easy job. It's a 24/7 job. And I think that more understanding of the day-to-day, and by seeing what type of inspections we do and how we handle them, helps for the greater good, with the condo owners being more accepting to how the community is being run. It's a great industry. I love it. I wouldn't do it anywhere. I wouldn't do anything else. It is just, it's a learning industry, and I love it.
I'm super grateful for you, because I don't think I could do that job. I have a very difficult time imagining being responsible for this many communities. And I know that you have several that you do, as well as doing this, but we see managers with 15, 20 or more buildings at times. I think it's typically a higher number of smaller communities in BC, larger communities, smaller number in Ontario. But it's a huge amount of work. So any tools that they have that can make that effective are fantastic. So for those that are watching this, they can scan the QR code to go to Condo Inspect Pro to look at it. Otherwise, the domain is there, condoinspectpro.com. You have a lot of helpful information. There's some downloadable checklists and insights that you're sharing with people that are looking to learn more. How else should they get in touch with you, Sunni?
They can email me at support@condoinspectpro.com. We do offer onboarding of all the buildings. We offer a 14-day trial. There's no credit card. There's no obligation at any point to stay, but we definitely feel that once you're in there, you'll understand the benefit of it. And we are here. We commit to responding within 24 hours to any questions or concerns. We've had a couple of new clients come on, and they've actually added a few things to their portfolio. So we're always willing to adjust, because again, the whole idea of the tool is to make it more time efficient for the managers. I strongly believe in that. So we're happy to support where we can.
Wonderful. Thank you for joining me today, Sunni. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Condo Talk will return. Next week, we're going to be talking about roofing with Stefan from Applied Roofing Science. Thanks.
Thank you.